Good morning, everybody. Let's go ahead and do a quick theory. Today's theory we're going to talk about is Linda Gottfredson's theory of circumscription and compromise. So the way I remember what her theory is about, I think of the G for Gottfredson as in G for gender, as well as son at the end of her name because she was a daughter. And I'm sure you guys can guess this theory is going to be based on your gender. So some of the questions that I've seen associated with her are which career theorist has to do with gender, which is Linda Gottfredson, and then I've seen like what is the last stage of Gottfredson's theory. So I will go over the stages, but just as background information, this theory was created in the 1980s, so it is considered one of the newer theories, and basically it states that you go through different stages in life, which I'll go over in a second, and you build a cognitive map around what occupations you can do based on the stereotypes that you learn growing up. And then with these occupations, you will circumscribe or narrow down and then compromise on whichever one it is that you end up picking. So young people build this map. They begin to decide what occupations are accepted for their gender and their social status and which ones are unaccepted, and then they develop a self-concept around those and those which are not. So these are the different stages. There are 4 of them. The first one is orientation to size and power, and this is from ages 3 to 5. Second one we have is orientation to sex roles. Third one is orientation to social values, and then the last one is orientation to internal unique self. Okie dokie, so let's go over each one. So the first one, orientation to size and power. At this age, children recognize that what size and power is, and ultimately that they don't have much of it, and if they do, they seem to think of themselves as like more or better, and if they don't, lesser than. You also learn what an adult is at this age and that you are not one. They make simple, concrete decisions and thinking, and they identify strong versus weak. Our next one is on orientation to sex roles. So according to my textbook, which I'm using the Hedgewick review manual, a majority of jobs today still pertain to one class. So if you think about a certain occupation, there's a majority of the people who work in an occupation will either be male or female. And children at this age start to identify themselves more with their sex role. So the boys will play with the boys, the girls will play with the girls, and they start to identify this in work as well, that there are a woman's job and there is a man's job. And they self-select themselves with their playmates, and they recognize the dichotomous thinking. So the next class we have is the orientation to social valuation. This is from 9 to 13. So in this stage, you start to recognize that some jobs are valued more than others. In particular, males' jobs are valued more than a female's jobs. They're considered harder. They're considered more, I don't know the word, highest perceived status. Our last class is orientation to internal unique self, 14 plus. So at this stage, you start to identify what you have within yourselves after you've gone through all these stages and what you can realistically do. So your ideal versus your realistic. So let's say, for example, you wanted to be a pilot, right, for the Army or something. But when you're at this age, you start realizing, hey, like maybe I can't go to the Army, it's too dangerous. Hey, maybe I can't become a pilot because it's too expensive. Whatever your reasoning may be, you start to narrow down, circumscribe what it is that you can be instead, and then compromise for that. So maybe you couldn't be a pilot, but you can be a flight attendant. And that is the last stage. Another thing you might hear about her is the zone of acceptable alternatives. So this is a little graph. I know it's blurry and ugly, but basically this is where your job would fall, depending on where you want to be. So again, Here are her stages. You have orientation to size and power, orientation to sex roles, orientation to social valuation, and then orientation to unique self. And that is Linda Gottfredson's theory of career development, circumscription, and compromise.